The war on truth, the war on conservative viewpoints is thick, and most people are sleeping. They don't care. They're not aware of it. Or worse, they're fighting against it, thinking they are doing good work. I've been saying before, we live in a time for which, if you look at this 40 years later and you look back at this time, a lot of people, because they have an objective point of view, looking back historically, they're going to look at people in this time and say, man, how were you so deceived? How did you move with the flow of the world and not have a foundation in the Lord led by the Holy Spirit during this time? Because there's a great deception at work in this time. There's a lot of people that say they're Christian and they think that they have it all together, that they know what's what, they know what is truth. This happens in many different times in history. There were people back during World War II, and people are going to give me a lot of flack for this, but there were people that claimed to be, oh, I'm a Nazi, I'm a SS person, and all these things, and they claimed to be Christian, thinking they were doing good work. I've been saying before that there's a movement going on that is anti-Christian, but it's covered and it's soaked in thinking that it is doing good work, and you have to wake up to this. A lot of people thinking they are on this political party, this liberal viewpoint or whatever it is, thinking that they're doing the work of God, but really it is literally going against the heart of God. And so we see a lot of news coming out right now, right? And I'm going to say this very cautiously because a lot of people are still very, they're not awake yet, or it's very sensitive. It's a very sensitive topic in the sense that if you haven't done your research and prayed about it, then you will be confused. And it's not like it's an easy thing, right? A lot of you guys watching this, you're beyond the fact that if you go to some, Halloween party where there's demonic activity, or, you're wearing like a mask that is of a ghost, or if you go to some, Astroworld concert that, Travis Scott and these guys have done, or if you go out clubbing or partying all night, those things are very basic activities that if you as a Christian have discernment, you will look at it and say, okay, yeah, this is obviously there's things you shouldn't do, things you should do as a Christian. But of course, non-believers are not going to see it that way. But as you elevate, there's going to be other things for which you have to have a solid root in him, or else you're going to get deceived. And so this is very difficult. It's not like people are stupid. People back in the Nazi time, people even right now, they didn't have low IQ. They didn't sit there and just think that there was something off about their mental. There was a deception. There was a movement. There are bandwagon effects. There are appeals to different fallacies, whatever it is, that are building up to get you to think a certain way, right? Recently, the Hunter Biden laptop, right? This infamous Hunter Biden laptop, lawyers are now suing, right? And if you look and read between the lines here, the lawyers and Hunter Biden have admitted that this is their laptop. They wrote, quote, "We write on behalf of our client, Robert Hunter Biden, to request an investigation into the following individuals for whom there is considerable reason to believe violated various federal laws in accessing, copying, manipulating, and or disseminating Mr. Biden's personal computer data," states the letter that was written to the DOJ's top national security official, Matthew Olson. Right there, again, people are going to say what they want. Right there, it's more proof, again, that this was a lie. This thing that now has been fully exposed, right? New York Times, all these guys now saying that, yes, this was not good, right? People saying, oh, this is Russian disinformation. If you lived during that time right before the election, people thinking, well, that's not true. The Hunter Biden laptop thing, that's not true. It's Russian disinformation. The campaign for which media, with people with authority and credibility, people that just bounced ideas off of each other, just piggybacked off other sources that they thought were true, but you gave too much credibility to some source because they had a title and they were saying, oh no, I'm from this department or that department, so it must be true. This type of deception is an advanced level of deception that is going on these days. And so that's why even if you're smart, you have a high IQ, you think you can just discern things. I'm telling you, this is the level of deception that is at work to get you to flow, to have an opinion, a perspective, a narrative moving in a certain direction. I'm saying this with a lot of fervor right now because you must wake up. whether it's this or whether it's other things. And again, I mentioned Damar Hamlin the other day. This is a very advanced, and again, I'm open-minded. I'm not here to say that he died or whatever it is. But again, another piece of news coming out that he's going to be on The Masked Singer. How convenient, right? If let's say it's supporting the theory that he's dead and they're trying to cover it up and this charade is happening, how convenient that he's going on and doing things that kind of you can pass off with having some, doppelganger or somebody else play his part while he is actually dead. And again, I'm not asserting that he is. I'm open-minded, but I'm saying that there's a great level of deception and people that are being deceived by him coming out, making a video. And again, I don't know if it's real or not. It could be real, right? It could be real. And him saying that he's crediting God with everything, that could be real. That could be genuine, right? But just because somebody is using the name of God, saying that, hey, I'm so thankful and blessed by what God is doing, that doesn't mean that you should be like, oh, well, we should just believe it. This is how deception works. They're not going to come with devil horns trying to trick you. Yes, there's going to be some that will do that, and they will get the non-Christians and the unbelievers and some of the weaker-minded, feeble-minded people that will easily be drawn in. But for the advanced crowd, right, people that really are trying to be discerning and trying to understand what's going on, they're going to come. Satan is going to come with the level of advanced deception for which he will use the name of God in many ways to deceive you. And this is what the Bible actually prophesies when the Antichrist and many people come doing awes and wonders in the name of God. So just because somebody says, oh, look beyond that, look, see, he's talking about God and all this stuff, that doesn't mean that everything's hunky-dory, right? So I'm saying this because the level of deception, the level of discernment, you have to wake up to this time, because 40 years later, people are going to look back as almost a laughing stock, saying, man, how could these people have been so duped and so manipulated, deceived by what the movement of the world was? And so they're going to call good evil, evil good. And some people even are demoralizing, pointing fingers at, and saying that the evil or the good people are evil. This is the level of deception that is going on. So many people have gone against certain people just because they were jeered at, smeared. There was some kind of an awkward story about it. This is how Satan is going to get people. When Jesus, when Paul and these guys were there at that time, they were made up false testimonies against him, and that deterred people. They were saying, yikes, I don't want to deal with this guy. I only want to have people that have a clean image. So this is the level of deception. Good guys are being slandered. Good guys are having false testimony against them, and people are believing it, hook, line, and sinker, thinking, okay, well, I don't want to support that guy. I don't want to support that politician because I've heard some things, right? So this is what you've got to break through and to actually get to the root of what the truth is, who a person really, and again, you won't fully know who a person is, right? But to get through all of that gunk, to get past all of that and just say, man, I want discernment for myself. I want to have an opinion for myself, and I want to have confidence in standing to that because I have a relationship with the Lord. I'm led by the Holy Spirit. I don't have peer pressure because 90% of the people have some kind of an opinion over a political candidate or a leader or an influencer, thinking that this guy is bad, right? Same thing is happening with pastors and churches and many places for which houses of worship or churches or whatever, they're getting false accusations or bad things. Again, there's some that are doing not good things. Obviously, they're getting exposed. But there's other people that are genuinely doing good things, but people are slandering them. They're eating it up, and this is how their image is being tainted of them. So I'm saying all of this because it goes both ways. All of the level of battle in this war on truth, this war on viewpoints and just your opinion, your perspective, your concept of reality, as I always like to call it. This thing is the war that we are fighting. And so you're going to have this microaggression, you're going to have this preconceived notion, you're going to have judgments, and these things are what you have to fight against to get to the truth. And just because somebody calls out somebody and says, this guy is a bad guy, and then you jump on the bandwagon and think, oh yeah, that guy is a bad guy, and you're just so easily riled up, then I would encourage some of you to really take a step back and saying, man, I want to have an anchor and a root and my own opinion that's led by the Lord, regardless if all my friends and family and the majority of the population are telling me that this guy's a bad guy or good guy, I want to have my own opinion and truth based on my research, my discernment, and my relationship with him. So this is where we are at. And so I'm cherry picking a lot of different pieces of news. But again, like I've said, we are in a time for which you cannot be naive. There are bigger powers that be. You have, whether you want to call it the global elite, sinister, hands and forces, the invisible, whatever you want to call it, that are trying to move your perception, your understanding, your knowledge of something towards an ungodly way. This is happening. This attack, even on our younger generation, the new kids now are getting indoctrinated with so much garbage. And this is what we have to fight against. And so I'm stirring people up, encouraging people, and giving you guys a sense of, man, I should not be sleeping, right? And just think about it this way. If you were a person who knew the truth back in the World War II era, and you are literally looking at your friends and family who were indoctrinated by the Nazi culture, thinking that you're doing some godly work, if you had to shake them awake and saying, dude, wake up, look at what you are doing, right? The same thing is happening right now. The people 40 years later will look back and say, man, what was I doing being led astray in this way? So have perspective. Check yourself right now, because this is a dangerous time. So more to come, guys, but just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a shaking and just to have your guard up, stay prayed up, and ask the Lord for discernment. There's too many people still being deceived, thinking they're doing good stuff, but they are not. So just wanted to give you guys this. Love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.